happy Tuesday, everyone. As you can tell, my voice is about, I'd say 50% of the way back to where it was before. That's good. I actually went to the walk-in clinic yesterday, like I said I was going to, and they believe I just have an upper respiratory infection, something, viral. So just, it should go away soon. I mean, it's almost been a week since I got it, so we are nearing that time. So let's get to my low, my high, my act of kindness. My low was, there was actually a lot of snow yesterday. So much so that, I will be honest, I was genuinely worried that even with all the plowing that happened the night before, I really thought the roads were going to be bad. Thankfully they weren't, but we got a lot of snow in not a lot of time. Thankfully, and this is actually my high, last night it rained. I'm not kidding, it actually rained like all night. So much so that there's barely any snow left anywhere, save for like the giant piles of snow that plow trucks leave as they, do their job. And speaking of piles of snow, my act of kindness was when I visited my folks yesterday. Actually, I did several things for my parents. I shoveled their driveway. I refilled their refrigerator with all the drinks they bought for themselves. And I didn't fill their dishwasher. So I did a lot. And got to be with them for a little bit. That's also part of my high. Honestly, for the beginning of a week where I really wasn't looking forward to how busy I was going to be, it hasn't been bad so far. Honestly, I think things won't pick up until this afternoon, but thankfully I should be, okay for it. Just a bunch of appointments and commitments I have all week. That's all I have. It's just, a lot. So with that in mind, how about we go over my NFL picks? Well, yesterday, I did pick both the Vikings and the Falcons to win, and they did, which makes my total for week 13 11-3, which makes my overall total, let me do the math, 141 plus 11 is 152, I believe. 67 plus 3 is 70. So the grand total for this week is, right now, 152 and 70. I'm doing pretty good, actually. Let me double save this. Okay. Yeah, the cough is still persistent. So, Honestly, it only really occurred to me now that I really don't have anything to talk about today. Oh. Well, considering the series of videos I just recently did, and considering the not so good week I had last week, December really hasn't been all that bad. Honestly, when you take the last week, it really was just one really inconveniencing thing after another. So it's not that it was bad, but it got annoying really quickly. So, thankfully, there's someone I'm going to be talking to today about all of that, among other things. I started falling in love with wrestling again. I mean, it was a sport I used to do. I talked about my career in football. I guess it's safe to say I could talk about my career in wrestling. Which, I mean, look, I'll be honest, as much as I would say wrestling was the sport I was best at, I still wasn't any good. I mean, I think in like my first 2 years, I got 3 wins ever. Freshman, sophomore year. I was terrible. Just complete garbage. And there was a lot of reasons for that. I mean, honestly, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really know, what purpose. I mean, I really only did wrestling because my JV football coach suggested that I do it. Which is ironic because that same JV football coach wound up cutting me the next year. Which, that's a story for another day. I'll be honest, I was there looking for something to do rather than there to do something, if that makes sense. I mean, it did build character for me. It did, build confidence, and over time, I did grow to like it. But in terms of overall success, I didn't really start seeing any of that until my junior year of high school. And for that, I had to go up seriously, I wrestled the heaviest weight class you could get, which at the time was 285. I didn't weigh nearly that much, by the way. I mean, 285 really is a formality. It's between, after 215 at the time, it's then 285. The weight classes today are different, so bear with me. So my freshman year, I wrestled 189, but then got down to 171. I tried wrestling 171, couldn't make varsity because some kid moved from a different area out of the blue and took my spot, which is ironic because he actually wanted to be a really good friend of mine. Junior year, I wrestled 285, and there I started getting really good because even though I was definitely smaller than a lot of the 285-pound people, I was definitely in better shape. So all I had to do was just use technique to get me through some big matches I had. But I will admit, if you're weighing 220, 225, and you see a guy who's a lot bigger than you are, it's intimidating. It is. So that's why my senior year, I went down to 215. And that's where I stayed at. And I definitely had successes at those heavier weights. But I will be honest, I really did not care for how I looked. I looked awful. I really did. I only just looked better in comparison to, here's the thing. I looked better in comparison to the other wrestlers who wrestle at that weight. If that makes sense. I still didn't look very good. And also, it's like I said earlier. When I see guys that looked bigger and stronger than I was, it was intimidating. It would get to me. Plus, while I worked very hard, and whenever the season did start, I really was looking forward to it. By the end of the season, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore at all. Which brings me to, even back when I was at Trinity Pauling, and here's the thing, I went to prep school nationals. Basically, I qualified for having a good enough record and placing a fourth at Western New England's. I did go to nationals, but both of my matches I lost at nationals. My first match, though, I got robbed. Basically, at some point during the match, the kid I was wrestling grabbed me in my you-know-where. The ref didn't call that at all. And because I'm in a lot of pain, because he grabbed me, and actually, he didn't just grab, he yanked my you-know-where. And I lost that match because I was in a lot of pain, all because the ref didn't call it. What the kid did was completely illegal. So, yeah. And then came Gettysburg College. For whatever reason, I could make 197, which was the weight class then, but it was just so, and I mentioned this earlier in my video when I talked about why I really don't plan on going back to Gettysburg College at this time. But I'll keep it brief. This one teammate I had, who was one of the 285 pounders, he was a freshman just like me. He started out being a really good friend, but over time he just became a whiny piece of garbage. He was. Like, he whined, cried, bitched, pissed, and moaned and everything. He complained about every little thing, and on top of all that, he kissed so much ass. Oh my God. Seriously, he kissed the coach's ass so much, there might as well have been lipstick marks all over it. And I'll never forget that there was one move that, it was a move we went over before, I just really couldn't get. And quite frankly, it was a move I was never going to use, but I couldn't get it. And he walks over the coach and again, complains about every little thing. I mean, this guy was a complete piece of garbage. So, and not to mention, my wrestling coach at Gettysburg College really wasn't very good at all. I'm not remotely surprised he's not coaching wrestling anymore. And a huge hypocrite too. Because this guy was supposed to have been a 4-time All-American. But he was a 4-time All-American. But the way it works is you got a place on the podium at nationals. His freshman year, he got second overall at nationals, which is good. But he got progressively worse over time. And his reasoning for cutting me from the wrestling team at the end of the year was my lack of progression. Granted, I only won one match that year, but I was there to learn. My sophomore year is when I was supposed to get better. But between that teammate I had and the fact this coach really wasn't very good. It's just, I really can make a video just how bad this coach was alone, but A, I think that would involve me naming names, which I never do. And B, if I did name names, I'm sure he probably has a job somewhere else. I don't want anyone to lose their job, even if I don't like the person. So, there you go. Honestly, my wrestling career ended more on a whimper than a blaze of glory. And I lost my love of wrestling for a long time. But don't feel too bad. I mean, what wrestling did for me in the long run more than makes up for what the outcome was. Because it did help me build character. It did, give me a sense of, pride for once. It was a means to, not thinking about the small stuff or anything that depressed me. I mean, I mentioned in my video on Friday how, nothing really could make me feel better. Wrestling was that one thing that it didn't make me feel better, but it helped, if that makes sense. It didn't make me feel better about my situation. It just made me forget about it for a while, which that can be a good thing. At least I think so. I mean, listen, as cool as it would be to wrestle again, I have no idea how to go about doing it. I'm going to be turning 35 in a couple weeks. Not even a couple weeks. My wrestling days are long gone. And again, what wrestling did for me, because without the work ethic I got from wrestling, I never would have ridden 4 100-mile bike rides for charity or ran 4 marathons. Not to mention, I mentioned this before, I've had one girlfriend ever. It was really interesting because it was my senior year of high school. We wrestled Maine and well. And I beat my kid pretty handily. And the brother of one of my teammates, who ironically was the teammate who beat me out for the 171 spot as a sophomore, the guy was much older. He brings his girlfriend and a mutual friend of theirs. That friend came to watch us wrestle, and I got to meet that girl. And we wound up being a couple for 3 weeks. She broke up with me over a text message the day after my birthday, but for all intents and purposes, because of wrestling, I actually got a girlfriend. That's pretty cool. I mean, here's the thing. Here's how long ago this was. She actually went to Corning East. Yeah, see, nowadays it's Corning, but back then it was Corning East and Corning West. She went to Corning East. We were just both really busy. And the fact that we went to different schools didn't really help either. But again, without wrestling, I don't get a girlfriend. So I can't really be upset about that. So, yeah. Was my career in wrestling great? Many people would say not really. But that just depends on what you take from it. In terms of wins and losses, yeah, I was a complete nobody. But from what I gained from it, I'm pretty sure it makes out. I'm pretty sure. My point is, I think the good outweighs the bad. And I'll just keep it at that. I hope you like this video. If you like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, on social media. As always, I'm very humble. So before you guys watch this video, we have a wonderful one. Oh, right. Well, sure enough, watching my friends' kids wrestle, it kind of ignited that love for it again. I mean, again, at this moment, I really have no idea how to go about wrestling again. Frankly, I don't even think it's worth the trouble anymore. But I still like to watch, and I still plan on watching it for a long time and being a fan. And if I ever have a kid someday, and if they want to, listen, if I ever have kids, I'm never going to force them to do what I did. What they want to do, they should decide to do that on their own. I decided, technically it was my football coach who convinced me to wrestling, but at the end of the day, I decided I wanted to do it. So if I ever have kids, and if they wanted to wrestle, no one would be more shocked or happy at that prospect than I would. Now I hope you all like this video. Now I hope you all like this video. I'm very humble in this video for all you guys who are watching today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Wonderful Tuesday. And remember, if you guys want to talk to me, which we are to let me know as you're back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.